welcome. I am Dr. Lum Frundi. I am a pediatrician and founder of Generational Wellbeing. I am really passionate about helping parents create sustainable, healthy habits for themselves and for their families so they can start making changes from disease to wellness. I am coming on today for a session with Dr. Nguyen.
Hello, hello.
Hello, hello, Dr. Lum. How are you?
I am doing okay. I'm doing great. So I started out by introducing myself. So I'll give you a chance to tell the audience who you are, and then we'll get started.
Okay, thank you, thank you. It's wonderful to be here with you. Always great to chat with you. My
Right.
name is Dr. Nguyen. I am a pediatrician who has training in integrative medicine. I completed a fellowship in integrative medicine. And what is that? That is taking care of patients in a whole body approach, mind, body, and spirit, as well as using traditional Western medicine and really concentrating on that patient-physician relationship. And for us as pediatricians, right, that we already do a lot of that. That's how we, work with our patients and their families. So that's a natural segue, but I have a little bit more in my toolkit about mind-body therapies. And so it's a more organic approach to medicine. And over 20 plus years of practice, and my zone of genius that I didn't choose initially is adolescents and young adults, because not too many people understand them, and many people try to avoid this special group. I find them fascinating, and I've been able to help quite a few of my patients through the trials and tribulations of adolescence, and they've blossomed. Most people just blossom. They just need someone with some understanding, some patience, listening, and they're ready to thrive. So
Absolutely. And which is why I have you on here today to kind of help our audience understand their adolescence, especially when it comes to anxiety, right?
yes.
which as sorry, which as you rightly said, this group is really misunderstood, and no doubt, when you're misunderstood, you don't feel like you connect with anybody. There's that high risk where you're anxious all the time because you pretty much, maybe it's just I'm all alone. I don't know what could happen tomorrow. Does anybody really understand me? Do they see me? Yeah.
Yeah. Am I alone? Am I the only one feeling this way? No, you're not the only one. And am I stuck in this situation perpetually forever? It's really weird. Their time distortion, like a few seconds could be forever, or, oh, I haven't done so and so in a long time. And you ask, when did you do it last? And it was yesterday. you know? So you always need to ask clarification, because what you and I might think of in the regular spectrum for time, or the chronological and realistic time clock is not the same time clock that they're working on. But they're an amazing group of children. I mean, they're children. They're an amazing group of young adults. They're amazing to work with.
Right. Okay. So, well, let's get it started with anxiety, right? So, a lot of times when we say anxiety, it's not always a bad thing, right?
Nope.
Sometimes it could be motivation for us to do what we need to do, but then sometimes it could become problematic. So, how can you help us understand when anxiety becomes a problem?
Well, anxiety is probably, a part of all of our lives, honestly, whether we're children, adolescents, adults, elderly. There are always stressors, right? But so stressors are the thing, having some level of stress is what drives you to achievement. There's this beautiful curve where it is stress is on the lower, is on the x-axis, and then on the upper axis, on the y-axis, is performance. And it's a bell curve. So when you have no stress, there is no performance, right? It's at zero. As you go up and you have some mild and moderate stress, you're actually accomplishing a little bit more, a little bit more. And then there's actually a level of moderate stress that you're really in the flow and in the groove. And that is your peak performance there, you know, with that stress. But this is very tricky. If you overdo that stress, you know, and you push yourself really to the limits, you actually start having a decline in your performance. And when I say performance, I mean, it can be mental performance, physical performance, but whatever it is that you're doing, you're going to get less bang for the buck as your stress is it's become chronic, right? And that's where the anxiety kicks in, and then the panic attacks, and then you're burnt out actually, and you're accomplishing absolutely nothing. You're just like, so stress, great. That's your fight, flight, freeze response, and we need that every day. Okay, if there's an emergency, you got to do it right away. You can't sit around and you know, mull over it. But what happens is people go from a lot of, you know, little bits of stress to lots of stress all the time. And that's pervasive stress is the anxiety, right? And again, you know, daily situations as an adolescent, that's part of their development is angst, adolescent angst. So what's the difference? Momentary here or there, you know, when it revolves around friendships and relationships, sure, or exam time, but it shouldn't last. Okay, maybe it's like a day, 1 or 2 days. But if you're noticing a pattern and it's going on for 2 weeks or more, and there's a change in behavior, there's, you know, they're not really the teen that you're used to, something's up there, right? And I want to remind you that there's different flavors to anxiety. Sometimes people think all of anxiety is about fear, right? Fear of the unknown, fear that people are judging me. But irritability can also be anxiety. Okay, that's the key here, right? It's easy to spot the child who becomes withdrawn and scared of everything and doesn't want to go out into the world. A little harder when you're like, oh my gosh, my teen is driving me nuts. I'm walking on eggshells. There's nothing that I can say that's right. Pay attention to that. I mean, if it's here or there and it's random throughout the day and then there's great moments, that's probably teenagery, right? But if it's like everything, like all the time, every time you're interacting with your teen, your shoulders are up, you might go, is there something else going on? Is there anxiety going on? Is there depression? There's something up. So that's the trigger. If it lasts longer than a day or two and becomes a pattern, okay? The change in their interaction with you or their interaction with their friends even, right?
Right. Yeah, I like the patterns, right? Looking at those behaviors that we tend to label as, oh, it's just like a teenager, or my kid is just being a teenager, or my kid is just being mean or anxious, but just not understanding that those patterns may be a way of them communicating to you that there is a problem, right?
Yeah.
I'm irritable. I don't feel supported. It could be that. Or maybe it's avoidance too, because sometimes if they're procrastinating, it could be a pattern to say, I'm afraid of failure, or I don't want to try this task because I'm anxious about something. So the behavior itself is just a way of communicating. So really digging in to see what are those patterns that have led to this behavior, or what is my teenager actually communicating to me with the behaviors, right?
Exactly. So one of the things that I love it that you're connecting it to behavior. So parents, like sometimes I think, are even anxious of their children going into adolescence, and this is how I try to ease them into it. I say, you know what? You've done toddlerhood with this child already, and you were awesome. You absolutely succeeded because now they're an adolescent. Look at that. So adolescence is a return to toddlerhood in many ways, because toddlerhood is about exerting your independence from your parent. Like, I do this, I can do it. And you're like, okay, let's wait for you to fasten that seatbelt, for 10 minutes, right? Or for you to put on that shirt. Well, in adolescence, they want to exert their independence and control over their own lives again, but in a bigger way, right? And just like toddlers, sometimes they don't always have the vocabulary to explain their frustration. You know how your toddler has a temper tantrum? Well, your adolescent just gets irritable and yells back at you, and you think they're aiming it at you. Actually, no, this is their frustration, right? And their hormones are not helping them. Between the spikes of estrogen and testosterone, they think they're losing their mind sometimes. And, you know, I hear a lot of adolescents say, I feel overwhelmed. And the parents are like, why? Everything's going great. You know, your friendships are going great. You're a great athlete. You are an awesome student at school. What do you have to be overwhelmed or anxious about? But my clue here is that's exactly why they're overwhelmed, because they're doing so well at everything. Do you know how much pressure, they have to keep all that together? That's the overwhelm, right? So we really have to listen for the clues that they drop. It's like toddlers again. They drop little clues, and you have to be the detective that pieces it all together. And if we can refocus that that's really our role as the parent of an adolescent or a young adult, it just makes it a little bit easier. It helps you get into the flow of it, because it's, again, your child, your adolescent who is setting the tone. It's not you, right? It's like, I tell parents, please give your young adult the driver's seat. This is their life. And if you continue to be in that driver's seat driving them, they will never learn how to drive. So as painful as it is, okay, just like ripping the umbilical cord off, please let them have the driver's seat and you be in that passenger seat. Your role now is to zip, okay? Like, okay, they're going a little faster than you want them to, but it's not over the speed limit. Zip. Okay, there's a truck coming and they are not seeing it. Yes, you need to say, darling, maybe it's time to put on the brakes. So life or death, step in. But otherwise, let them learn that rhythm on their own. Just be there as the support, as the background person when they need you.
Absolutely. And this leads into the story I told you with me dropping off my daughter today. And I watched a father and son riding their bikes. And the son was so confident just riding in front of the dad, but then knowing that my dad is behind me and he's got my back. So whether I make the right turn or the left turn, he's right there to lift me up. So it's a similar thing with your kids, where just let them take that driver's seat, but you're right behind them, because once they know that you've got their back, it's easier for them to open up to you, because realistically, anybody will not open up to anybody if you don't feel like you have my back, or I can trust you with this information. So that's another thing with just letting them have that driver's seat, because it makes things much easier and makes your understanding of them much easier and helps them to open up to you as well.
Absolutely. And, we learn our best lessons, even us adults, when we make our own mistakes, right? So that's amplified for adolescents. I know that, we so much want to um, save our children from painful lessons that we have had to learn. But guess what? Our parents let us learn those painful lessons, and we didn't repeat those mistakes again. So I never, if my son or my daughter, and they're both adolescents, I have a college freshman and a junior in high school, if they ever think there's like a fail in their lives, I say, you know what? Let's step back and do the reframe. Is it a fail? No, because look what you've taken, that you've had that happen, but you have figured out how to get out of it, and you moved forward. And so if this happens to you again, you know what the steps are that you need to take to avoid that mistake. So it's hard in the moment. I would never say it to my child right in the moment, right after something that they're feeling really bummed out about. But it is a bit of a gift and an opportunity to learn from, and to not make that mistake again, and to better and improve your brain wiring for how you're going to go forward and solve that problem or that issue should you encounter it again. And most likely you will encounter it again, right? So there's always a first time, just like learning, oh my gosh, right? Learning to ride your bike. How many times did you have to fall before you finally were able to balance yourself and ride your bike securely? There it is.
Right. And it's always an honor to feel in your presence of your parents too, because that gives you that motivation to get up too. I'd rather than fail when they're with me, then go out there and fail when I'm not there, right?
Yeah. And so, and you know what? The other piece that I want to share with our parents is I counsel a lot of parents about how bummed out they are that they had a great relationship with their child as the child was growing up, but now in the teen years, the parents can't ever say anything that's right. And anytime they ask, they're wrong. And it feels like that adolescent is spewing fire at you all the time. I really want to encourage parents to sit back and go, they're not spewing it at me. They are so confident in my unconditional love of them that they can be their true self, right? They have used all of their energy to try to do what they think is expected of them, in public, at school, with friends, that's a lot of brain energy. And so they're home. And now it's just like your toddler having that tantrum at dinner time. Well, now it's your adolescent, okay, having that tantrum like, oh. And so anything you say is bad, blah, blah, blah. But remember, when they're calm and chill, they probably have some moments that they hang with you and they're okay. So it's not you. You just happen to be there, but they're able to release and be themselves because you have built that basis for psychological safety for them, because you have given them unconditional love, and they know, even though they're not consciously doing it's, no matter how I act or what I do, my parents will always love me just as me, in any shape or form that I am coming out in. But it is a real hard struggle when you're actually experiencing that, day to day or multiple times a day. And so again, I want to remind parents, you're not alone. Not only is your adolescent not alone nor abnormal, neither are you alone or experiencing this transition for your adolescent into young adulthood alone either.
Right, absolutely. And before we move forward, I know we talked about the behaviors that could indicate anxiety, but sometimes we forget that there are some other physical symptoms too. Because in clinic, I've seen a lot of kids, adolescents who will come in with either frequent headaches or abdominal pain or dizziness, and all of those things which the parents will think, oh, there's a physical problem, just give me the medicine to fix it. But when you run all the tests and everything is normal, you have to start thinking back again, looking at those patterns, because your body actually gives you feedback.
Absolutely.
So any symptom is your body giving you feedback. There's a problem here. So a lot of times we want to come in there. There's a problem with my teenager. She has this abdominal pain forever. I just think there's something wrong with her. We need to fix it right now. And that's also is another, they listen to it as that there's a problem with me. And it just keeps building and building. And this teenager has that the thing in their mind that there's a problem with me, because we're constantly telling them, yeah, it has to be something wrong. But just stepping back and knowing that the physical may be indicating or feedback for something else. So it's just, again, like you do mind, body, soul. So that's like the integrative part, looking at the picture as a whole, as opposed to that specific symptom or a system per se.
Yes. I agree. How many times it's headaches and abdominal pain, right? That's probably what we both see a lot of. And, I let people tell their story. So tell me about it, what validate that young adult's pain, because it is real. What they're sensing is physically painful to them. But then if you've done all of your medical workup, and oftentimes as a first presenter of this, and it's become a pattern and you're working them up, you kind of have to do the workup to prove to the parents that there's not a physical link to this pain. Pain is real, but perhaps it is the feedback that, you know, my mind, my emotions, my mental state is not well. I relate this to you're being clenched. When you're anxious all the time, you're in clench mode. Okay. Now clench yourself up and feel how great your body feels. It doesn't. Imagine that your adolescent is feeling this way every day. Well, it's going to physically affect some system. Most commonly, it's going to be the gut or, you know, headaches, right? Because it's tense. So you have tension headaches. Like the children aren't waking up with headaches first thing in the morning. The headache happens after the end of school. Okay. And sometimes the headaches aren't there on the weekends or when there's no school. Or sometimes they are on the weekends, but it's because there's like a social event. There's something that requires something to do. Okay. So there's clues in their physical ailment, and we have to accept that may be, as parents, that this is their manifestation of what's not going so well inside their mental state or their emotional state. Okay. But always validate your young adults' feelings, thoughts, you know, whatever it is that they're expressing. If they're able to express it, validate it. I'm sorry. I hear you. You know, I hear you. You know, how can I help? Would you like me to help? Okay. That's, you know, you have to kind of tippy toe in, open that door a little bit, leave it open, and let them open it further for you. Don't push. Okay. So what's going on? That word what is accusatory almost, like, what did you do to get this? No. How can I help you? Um, how can I help you? How would you like to approach this? Actually, you want to offer them the opportunity to navigate it on their own first, right? And set up so that they're thinking, they're reflecting on it, and you reflect back for them. Your job is not to solve their problems. You're in the passenger seat, they're in the driver's seat. They have to get to their own aha moment. And if you can help them facilitate getting to that aha moment on their own, then that will stick, right? But if you're giving them advice, oh my gosh, how many adults are giving these young adults advice? Everybody. That's why they're overwhelmed, because there's
Right.
advice for everybody, from their friends, their teachers, their parents, their coaches. And do you know whose advice is least listened to? You, their parent, right? So if there's something that I really like for my own children, my adolescents and young adults, children to perhaps make a tweak in, I actually would talk with their their advisor at school or their coach, but some other adults that, or my sister, you know, their aunt, who they're both very close to. Oh, it is heard loud and clear when it's said by someone else. You, as the parent, are the least effective parser of advice to your adolescent young adult.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I always ask my adolescent patients if they have somebody that they can trust or somebody they can confide in, because there's a huge difference I noticed in the mental well-being of kids who actually have that adult in their life outside of their parents that they can really confide in and talk to, versus those who really don't have that as an option. So that would be one thing to do as a parent if you have an adolescent or who you're having a hard time communicating or connecting with. Just finding that person, whether it's a family member or as a counselor or a mentor or someone that your adolescent can really just talk to.
Yes. And, you know, often, sometimes your adolescent has that person in their circle already, a close friend of the family or an extended family member. You just have to figure who that person is for them. Like, it's not like you can throw them on the person, but they already have other adult relationships. And so you want to encourage those, and you want to get allyship with, you know, let's say it's your best friend that your daughter is really, you know, well aligned with and feels safe with, and you know, and you can tell your friend that you don't have to share everything with me. Please only share if you think there might be danger. Okay. Just the
Right.
same as we do as pediatricians. I mean, that's how we get the adolescents buy-in, is that I make it very clear to, and I prep my patients and their families well before they hit 13. I say, hey, in a few years, we're not all going to be sitting together and discussing everything all at once. You will all have your opportunity with me, but then there will be group time with parents present, and then there will be individual time without the parents. And my oath here is that in order for me to continue building that trust relationship with your adolescent, nothing passes my lips after they share it with me unless their life is in danger. But, you know, I'm not going to let bad things happen to your child and just blow it up. But, you know, I will help to encourage them, share it with you. Or if they'd like, if they are too worried about your, you know, how you would take it, you know, I can share it, but with their permission. Here's the thing, always give them that sense of control. That's what adolescents are desperately seeking, because they really, I think, feel they have no control over their lives. Like at school, you know, the teacher sets up the curriculum, sets up the tests, and blah, 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 blah. Even in sports, you know, somebody's dictating the schedule of, you know, and then so for you as a parent to come in at home and give more orders that they have to follow, why wouldn't I feel overwhelmed? Like nobody's giving me any options. So keep the options alive. Help them learn to master themselves, right? Emotionally, connected mind and body, but also really let them have that go at being the person that runs them.
Right, absolutely. Amazing tips for parents. And I would like to add to that to say, in addition to giving them options too, you may be a parent who is like, okay, I don't know how to start, where to start. I like the routines where if you have certain routines, certain expectations at home, that allows room for flexibility, where they know, okay, when I wake up in the morning, this is what we do, this is what's expected of me. But then I have that guarded time where it's my free time to just be me, just to relax, where it's not, I'm coming back from school, I'm trying to maybe get in there and kind of declutter or just relax,
Yeah.
and your parent walks in there, you have not done this, where it changes every day.
It does. It does. And, you know, coming right off of that, I love routines. Routines kept your toddler in place, right? Routines keep your adolescent going well, also. And then the other thing is mirroring. We mirror for our children, okay? So we all live very hectic lives. How many of us can say that we're never stressed in the day, or that at the end of the day you might want to go like, I'm going to pull my hair out, really, one more thing at work, or you know, one more thing mishap at home, and I'm going to lose my stuff. So you are modeling just like you did when your children were younger, and they absorb so much because they have great mirror neurons. Yes, mirror neurons in their brain that unconsciously soaks in their environment, right? And so they're learning how you deal with stress and how you react to stressful, unanticipated situations. Do you go, okay, it is what it is, and how are we going to solve this? And, you know, with a smile or a positive attitude, move forward from it? Or are you like, oh my God, this is so crappy, blah, 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 and then you get caught up and you're spiraling? Because if you're spiraling, that's what they're learning. I'm going to spiral. Versus, and they do some of that on their own already, so they don't need the like, oh, well, that's how adults do it too, you know.
Right.
And you're not going to be perfect. There are going to be times that you need to you're going to spiral. So I'm not at all advocating that you hide your emotions or your feelings. It's important for you to say, that sucked. Okay. Oh my gosh, I cannot believe that happened. But speak out loud how you're going to work yourself through it. Okay. That's the learning point, right? Is
Right.
that was awful. I cannot believe that, you know, that fell through at work. Now I'm going to have to do X, Y, or Z, but it's okay. You know what? First, let's have dinner together, and then I'll work on it after dinner. Or I need to take 5 minutes, kids. I need to go to my room. I also need to decompress. You know, I need to listen to some music, or I need to just have silence, and then I'll come back and join you, right? But that's the modeling that you're doing. It's so much better to be able to see, monkey do, rather than, you know, somebody telling you, well, this happens, do that. If this happens, it's like, So remember, your mental well-being is also very important in how your child or your adolescent's mental well-being will be. And I know they're much higher. Their sensitivity level is amped up in adolescence. So we have to help them modulate by turning that volume knob a little bit down, right? Your toddler, do you remember the toddler? I know that one of my children, I swear that child had no volume control. Learned how to talk at about 9 months, say 1 or 2 words, and that volume stayed for the rest of, you know, like childhood. And now, you know, what we're doing is in trying to help them modulate it and turn it down a bit, but encourage their expression of what they're feeling, validate it, right? And then help them go, all right, that's the awareness. Now, how am I going to monitor it or regulate it in the future, right? So those are big, big tasks that you want to help your adolescent develop. I call it building resilience, and that is, it's learnable. Self-awareness, where are you feeling it in your body? What's the sense in your body? You know, where, for some people, it feels like they're going to puke. For some people, it feels like, you know, their brain is going to bust, or some people feel like there's something really heavy on their chest. So that's number one. That says you're in distress. And then how do you monitor? Monitoring it is knowing, oh, what was the trigger for it? And look, this is my body doing its automatic reaction. Now, I know what my automatic reaction leads to, like panic and the spirals. Is that really the road I want to take? Not really. So self-regulation, that's the next step, is like, okay, I'm aware. I know when it comes on, why it's coming on, and now I'm going to regulate my reaction to it. It's going to be a modified, planned out reaction rather than a spastic, like, you know, I got to do it right now. You know, I can take a few moments. And how do you get there? Again, self-compassion. So model your own self-compassion for yourself so that they can develop their own self-compassion as well, right? Just bring it back. Like if your friend got turned down by someone or for a part that they were trying out for the play, would you ever tell them, you stink? You obviously don't know how to do X, Y, or Z. No, you never would. But you know that your adolescent might say, I'm terrible. I'm just never, ever going to be able to perform, be in a play, da, 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 da. And stop them and say, hey, I know it feels really bad. You want to tell me? But what if this was your friend coming to you and saying that this happened to them? How would you speak to them to provide them some comfort in their time of distress and discomfort? Can you say that to yourself? So building resilience, my 4 steps, building resilience is learnable through self-awareness, self-monitoring, self-regulation, and the biggest part is self-compassion. That's something that I think is a lifelong mission for all of us, myself included.
Absolutely, absolutely. And all of this is not a one-time fix. It takes practice. So, and I know you have a course coming up for the teenagers where you can actually practice all these tips. Can you tell us more about it?
Oh, yes. So thank you. I am so excited. I am trying to compress all of my years of work with adolescents, like what's worked, what hasn't. And often I do my coaching during their time with me, and it's one-on-one. And the kids will learn the techniques about self-awareness, self-monitoring, self-regulation, but they don't see me very frequently, right? So it works, and sometimes it keeps for about a week, and then they forget it, right? And then they come back in distress a couple of months later, and I go, hey, remember we talked about that? Oh, yeah. Have you done any? Oh, no. So I'd like to help your adolescent or young adult learn practical ways to manage and build their mental fitness. That's what this is. Okay. You know, be aware of your thoughts and feelings. Know that they're not abnormal. Know that you're not alone because you're in a peer group, but it's safe because it's virtual. So you're not actually live touching the person or sitting next to them and saying, yes, I'm fearful of those things too. And learning, you know, learning and understanding how their emotions and thoughts affect their physical being, and what to do to put themselves back in control. It's all in your, it is all about how you can control your thoughts, right? There will always be that judge voice in you that judges you, people around you, your environment that feels judged. And in adolescence, it's amplified. It is the biggest voice that you hear. But on the flip side, there's this actually gentler, calmer, wise, sage voice that they have, and they're developing. And we're going to help. I am going to help you build that up, amp it up. That's the loud voice you should hear. And we're going to modulate that other, much more judgmental, self-defeating voice that often teenagers hear the loudest. And what is it? You have to build your mental fitness muscles. And what's that? It goes back to awareness, self-awareness of it, and then taking action. But it's practice, right? So no, I'm not going to make everyone breathe. That is an option. You know, we'll learn how to breathe. But there's physical things that you can actually do, you know, do some jumping jacks, you know, in the moment, break out and dance, you know, with some music, ice to your face. I know, but that radical thing triggers your vagus nerve, and it, you know, puts you outside. It jumps you out from your sympathetic nervous system, which is the fight, flight, freeze response, into your calmer parasympathetic nervous system. So it's the calmer part of you. So there's going to be immediate tools, and then there's going to be more habit formation, right? And regular practice. So this is not school. It is not a class. This is learn, act, and practice. Okay. This is a practicum. All right. We're going to get in there and we're going to do it. And I am using this peer group as a motivator. Because, you know, you don't get motivated by yourself. I mean, teens always get motivated if they're in a group with their friends. Like, what is my friend doing? Oh, my friend's doing that. Oh, okay. So, and that provides accountability that they wouldn't have otherwise, right? If your friend is, you can't show up to, it's 6 weeks, starts on October 11th. It's Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And it goes from October 11th to November 15th, ends before the holiday season starts, okay? And this could be really helpful also, right? Because what's more stressful? I mean, one of my most stressful times of the year is really actually holiday time. Being around with lots of family, and it's overwhelming, and you always have so much going on. And for adolescents, sometimes lots of extended family asking, what are you doing? You know, how's it going? That can be stressful, right? So pump them up now, early on in the school year, and to get them prepped for that you know, extended family. Like, what are you doing? You know, and people mean well, but they say things that stick with your adolescent, and they're like, I feel like they, you know, said I wasn't good, or that I'm not doing it right. I'm not doing it the right way. Okay. So build their confidence up. So the program is all about mental fitness, building your mental fitness and muscles, giving your adolescent the control of their thoughts, emotions, and how they go through it. And in the end all, it's for transformation, transforming them into more confident, resilient young adults, ready to thrive on their own terms. Okay. Not on someone else's terms, their terms, and not on your terms either. So I hope that you'll consider signing up your adolescent or young adult if they're ready, right? It's always, remember, they are in the driver's seat. So they can check me out on my Instagram to see if my face and my voice is something that they'd want to help coach them through something, or, oh my gosh, she's so crazy, there's no way I'm going to listen to her. Okay. Like, you might like what I'm saying, but if your adolescent cannot connect with my face and my voice, they're going to get nothing out of the 6 weeks. So let their decision be them. But you can say, hey, you tried lots of things. You want to try something new. This seems like it's very participatory and, action oriented, and something that, you'll carry with you. Because remember, habit formation is 21 days. We're running the program for 6 weeks because I really want to give extra time to keep, and, to build that habit and to keep that habit.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You can find out.
So where did they go to sign up? If someone wants to sign up or have their kids sign up?
www.resilientmd.org. resilientmd.org. And that's my webpage, and it will lead you to the immersive program that's starting next week, Tuesday, October 11th, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it goes until November 15th.
November 15th. Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you for joining me today, and I hope someone will register or you consider this program for your kids, because we're seeing a lot of teenagers who are really looking for help. That's the thing, though. It's not like they don't want the help. A lot of times they just don't have that right place, or they don't find a place where they can really fit in and be understood, because that's really key to transformation.
That's right. So I hope to see some of your adolescents in my program. And if this is not the right time, then when they're ready, I'm going to run the program several times a year. Thank you so much, Dr. Lum. It has been a pleasure. I want to leave our parents with one last thing. To love your adolescent loving your adolescent is letting them go. Loving your adolescent is letting them go. Let them make their own decisions. Let them make some mistakes, and then be right there when they need you. Okay? It's their agenda, not your agenda. Love is listening and letting go. Okay?
Absolutely. Well, thank you. And thank you, everyone, for watching. Have a wonderful day.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Lum. It's always a pleasure. All right. Take good care.
Okay.